Hello, friends. In this session, we are going to talk about this topic, Canada's controversial ban on Jaishankar interview. So let's get started. So if you have seen recently, India's External Affairs Minister, Dr. Jaishankar, visited Australia and discussed various global and regional issues over there, including Canada. So during his interview with an Australian news outlet, which is Australia Today, he addressed some concerns regarding Canada's recent actions, and Canada in response was reportedly angered to the extent of banning social media pages of Australia Today, which featured the interview of Mr. Jaishankar. So this reaction by Canadian government has raised eyebrows, especially considering the content of Jaishankar's statement, which were not overly critical but rather a reiteration of India's stance only. But still, we can't understand why such kind of step has been taken, right? See, this incident, if you look at it, is not isolated. Canada recently classified India as a potential cyber threat alongside nations like North Korea, Iran, and Russia also. So this move by Canada came as a surprise to India at that point of time and highlighted a growing sensitivity and, if you see, perhaps insecurity on Canada's part also. So Canada's decision to restrict Australia Today merely for airing Jaishankar's opinion suggests a shift towards restrictive policies that seem contradictory to Canada's stance on freedom of speech and expression and other thing. So let's move on to the next slide. So this is the one which I want to discuss, this hypocrisy of freedom of speech advocacy. So see, Canada has long period itself on supporting freedom of speech and expression, aligning with similar values held by United States. But Canada's reaction to Jaishankar's interview appears inconsistent with these principles, and such action raise questions about Canada's commitment to freedom of speech, especially when these values conflict with its own interest. India highlighted this irony, pointing out that Canada's response reflect a selective approach to free speech. So when it comes to you, you won't follow the rules or the freedom of speech principles. But when it comes to others, it's okay to follow, right? So similar to what might be expected from more restrictive regimes, right? So that's exactly what actually Canada did in this context. Now we can also look at the relation, the growing tension. So, if you see, this move of strained relation between India and Canada and recent attack on Hindu temples in Canada have been widely condemned in India, with Prime Minister Modi openly condemning the violence. And this open criticism by a leader with a massive global following has brought further attention to the issue, increasing the scrutiny that Canada faces on the international stage also. So major global media outlets like BBC and CNN have reported on India's concerns, and that actually amplified the issue further. So if you look at Australia's position, let's also look at Australia's response. So, guys, Australia, a member of the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance alongside Canada, may not support Canada's recent actions. And Australia today, the news outlet, if you see the news outlet of Australia today, affected by Canadian decision and is not based in India. So that making Canada's censorship action seem excessive and likely to provoke a response from Australia. So if you see, this single incident might not significantly impact Canadian or Australian relation, but Canada could face, backlash from Australia, particularly regarding freedom of press and fair international media practices. Now, moving on to the next slide. Yeah, the tension between India and Canada have also affected Indian diplomats working in Canada, who is now facing increased surveillance. India has already recalled its High Commissioner from Canada, while other Indian diplomats remain under constant scrutiny. The Indian Ministry of External Affairs have expressed concerns over the harassment and increased threats to Indian diplomats in Canada, and that is warning, the warning that such actions could lead to a further diplomatic fallout if they continue. So, if you look at the long term implications, let me also discuss this. So, see, the ongoing rift has the potential to impact India-Canada relation for years to come. So, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's stance has introduced significant strain into the relationship, and that is creating challenges that may take a long time to repair. So experts believe that only a highly diplomatic approach and perhaps a new leadership perspective in Canada could reverse the damage done to bilateral ties. So for now, India is highlighting Canada's recent actions as a case study to other nations in the Five Eyes Alliance. So if you see, let's conclude this. So what we can state in the conclusion, yes, again, when it comes to the conclusion, see, some speculate that with Donald Trump's potential return to power in the US, Canada's approach towards issues concerning India and international relations may shift. So, Trump's business focused approach and strong stance on foreign policy might compel Canada to reconsider its policies and align more closely with American interest. So, Trump's influence, if he wins in 2024, could see, as you see in this case, it can severely and significantly influence across the world, right? So we have seen the victory of Trump also, and that Trump's influence, now will be there across the, India Canada relation and in across the global relation also. So that's about the session, guys, and thank you so much for watching. See you in the next session.